Hello there, my name is Ben Walker, and today with the help of Promise Yourself, I'm going to be talking about some of the things that we're just not taught about at school. For example, taxes, mortgages, buying a house, renting, all the stuff that we just don't learn but we need to. And today I'm talking about investing. Now, investing is essentially just buying a good or asset with the hope that it will then rise in value. So then you can sell it on for a profit later. It's a way of making your money do some work for you rather than just leaving it somewhere to slowly increase over time with interest. Now, you may think, what's the point? Because isn't investing quite risky? And yes, it is. Investing can be quite risky. But normally when you put some money into a savings account, it generates, depending on the account of course, and let's say you put it in an account that's generating 1% of interest per year. So that means if you put £100 in, at the end of the year, you'll have £101. Now, we have a thing called inflation, and inflation basically is the rise of prices over time. So the higher the inflation, the bigger the increase in price rises. Now, let's say that inflation is 2% over that same year. So at the end of the year, basically your money is losing spending power. Now, that's not great, obviously, which is why some people decide to invest as a way to hopefully increase how much they gain. Now, investing can be any number of things. It can be stocks and shares, buying assets, even cryptocurrency is investing. So in this guide below, I will be talking about all the stuff that you need to know about with regards to each kind of investing. I won't be able to cover them all, obviously. I'll just be focusing on some of the bigger ones. And to start off with, we're going to start with stocks and shares. Now, the stock market is essentially just a big supermarket where you can go around and buy shares of companies. So every time you buy a share, what you're doing is buying a small percentage of that company, a very small percentage, I have to say, in the hope that the company's value will then rise, and when it does rise, you can either keep that share or sell it. Now, it can be very difficult to measure, what company is going to do well and when. Obviously, you could put your money into one of the bigger ones like Apple or Tesla or something along those lines, and they are, of course, rising at a fairly steady rate. Or you could try and find a smaller company that you think is going to do well, and if they do succeed, you can see massive gains there. It's a big risk basically because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know which company is going to do well over the next year and which company is not. So you should only really invest in stocks and shares if you have the money to spare, because it is quite risky. You don't want to be losing all of your money on one big stock bet, and it's not very smart to do that basically. You want to hedge your bets and make sure that you do have enough money to keep on living. So any extra money you want to invest, fine, go for it, but just don't be overboard with it. Don't think you can make all your money in stocks and shares, because while some people can, that's not a guarantee for everyone. A lot of it is just luck. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is cryptocurrency, and this of course it got massive a few years ago, with some coins being worth tens of thousands of pounds, which of course is an insane amount of money. Now, if you got into cryptocurrency a few years ago, you may have seen an absolute massive jump up in the values, but now, as it's more of an established market, the chances of having a massive jump in value, not that great. So it's all about doing your research. It's not unheard of for crypto prices to just drop dramatically overnight. So you need to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, and you need to know that it is risky as well. There's no guaranteed assurances here. So you could lose all the money that you invest, but similarly you could double your money, triple your money, who knows? It's one of those things that you just can't be sure about. So it's about doing your research, making sure you know what's going on. There's loads and loads of blogs out there that promise to tell you all the secret tips of crypto and what currencies are going to be doing better than others. So learn as much as you can. If I were you, I'd take each of these blogs with a little bit of a pinch of salt. They obviously can't predict the future, so just make sure you understand that it is risky. Now, there's loads of different platforms out there you can use for crypto trading. So again, each one has its own different advantages. There's different fees, there's different numbers of coins you can get on there. So again, do your research, decide which crypto platform would be best for you, and then you can take that next step and start investing. Now, the third type I'm going to talk about is property and land. Now, over the last few years, well, I say few years, a few decades, the value of property has risen dramatically. In fact, from 1999 to 2019, the property values rose by around 207%, which again is massive. So there's no guarantee that property values will continue to rise, but it's one of the safer bets there is in investing. I'm not saying it's a safe bet, because it definitely isn't, but there is a trend that we can see over the last 20, 30, 40 years that property values are rising. So it's not too much of a stretch of your imagination to think that they will continue to rise. I can't guarantee that they will, but they might do. Now, property, of course, isn't going to be easy for everyone to get into. There's quite a big upfront cost with property. So you have to make sure that you have all of your finances sorted. If you want to buy property to then rent it out, of course, then you have to get a specific buy-to-let mortgage. If you're just buying a property to have, you have to get a mortgage, there's fees, it's a massive responsibility. And if you can't keep up with your payments on your mortgage, of course, then you could lose the property anyway. So if you want to know more information, you can go to my other pages that are on buy-to-let properties and mortgages. So go give those a read, watch those videos and learn as much as you can. Now, if you don't think you'll be able to afford property, land is also rising quite a lot as well. In fact, over the next few years, or a few decades again, experts think that maybe land would make up 80% of how much a property is worth. So 80% of the value will be land and 20% will be whatever's on the land. So land, it could end up being massively valuable within the next 10, 15, 20 years. So that, again, it should be cheaper to buy the land than it would be to buy a property, and you could make a decent long-term investment on it. So who knows? I can't predict the future. I can't say that land and property is going to go up in value. All I can say is that it has been in the past, and that's where the trend is looking like it might go. So again, do your research. You don't want to just jump at the first thing you see and buy it, because that's obviously not a good idea. Do your research, find out as much as you can, and invest wisely. So the next one I'm going to talk about is assets. Now, assets can be many, many, many different things. But the theory behind investing in assets is the rarer an item is, the more value it should hold. Now, of course, that doesn't hold true for every single item, because it obviously needs to be something that's desirable and collectible. But that is the theory behind it. For example, as items age, they either take knocks, or they get lost, or they get damaged, and they're not seen as quality items anymore. So if you have something that's old and you keep it in perfect condition for a long, long time, the theory is, because there won't be many more in that condition, it should increase in value. For example, when the Jaguar E-Type came out 50, 60 years ago, it bought for just over £2,000. Now, if you bring that £2,000 to today's money with inflation, that's around £45,000. But a high quality Jaguar E-Type that's like in excellent condition will sell for over 200,000. So that's a difference of nearly 4 times what it should be worth nowadays. And that's with all the miles and the age with it as well. So that's the theory behind it. The older something is, the rarer it is, the more value it should have. Now, like I said, if it's old and rare, that doesn't make it expensive. It has to be the right things. You can't just go out there and buy a spanner you found from the 1960s and so, you know what, this is an old rare spanner, this will be worth a lot of money. It doesn't work like that. So just make sure you do your research around what you are actually buying. Don't just buy everything and assume that it's expensive. That's a really, really good way to lose money. Now, the final type I'm going to talk about is dealing. Dealing and investing are very, very similar. But dealing is, instead of holding on to something for a long amount of time and hoping it increases in value, dealing is buying something at a lower value and then selling it for a profit and holding on to it for any short amount of time. Now, this can be done with any number of objects. If you find something that's an absolute bargain, chances are you could sell it for a profit. In fact, that's what's been going on over the last few years with Pokemon cards. You have dealers buying them in and then selling them for more. It's very simple. It's all about supply and demand and having the right connections. And of course, in today's world with eBay and Facebook Marketplace and all these different selling apps, it's much easier to get your products out there into the market. But again, it's got to be the right things. You can't just buy any old thing for cheap and assume that it'll be worth more, even if it sells more at a market value, because we all know that, realtors hike up the value on pretty much everything. So chances are, if you're going out and buying everything you see because you think it's cheap, you won't be able to make a profit on it. It's about buying the right things. So when it comes to investing or dealing, it can be a really, really great way to make your money work for you. You're going out there, you're buying something, and then that something will increase in value, hopefully by a lot. But it doesn't always work like that. You need to do the research, it takes time, you need a lot of patience, and of course you need to have the money to begin with. So it is risky. There's no guarantee that anything you buy will increase in value. Chances are it might decrease as well. So please, please just don't watch this video and go out there and buy all this old stuff you can find. Do the research, find out if it's actually got a market, if it's desirable, and then maybe you can take that next step and start making some money. If you're lucky, that is. My name's been Ben Walker. Hopefully you've learned something here today. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys again next time.